Have you ever stared at your bank account balance and felt that sudden electric jolt of excitement because you finally hit a number you once thought was impossible? For most of us, that number is $100,000. It's the mythical six-figure milestone. It's the point where you feel like you finally graduated from the struggling phase of life into the wealthy phase. You start thinking about the upgrades, the freedom, and the fact that you finally have a cushion that could survive almost any disaster. It feels like you're rich. But then you sit down, you open up a spreadsheet, and you actually do the math. Suddenly, that $100,000 doesn't look like a finish line anymore. It looks like a very small stepping stone in a much larger pond. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, compound interest, and why most people never seem to escape the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. If you're someone who actually wants to understand how wealth building really works, instead of just hoping for the best, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up being helpful. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the six-figure myth. We're going to look at why $100,000 feels so massive psychologically, but why, from a mathematical standpoint, it's actually just the end of the beginning. We'll talk about the 4% rule, the trap of lifestyle inflation, and why reaching this milestone is the most dangerous time for your financial future. Let me paint you a picture of what most people think wealth building looks like. They imagine it's this perfectly linear process where each dollar you save gets you exactly $1 closer to your goal. Save $10,000, you're $10,000 closer. Save $50,000, you're $50,000 closer. Simple, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Actually, this kind of thinking is exactly why so many people give up on investing before they ever see the real magic happen. They look at their account balance after a few years and think, at this rate, I'll be dead before I ever hit $1 million. And honestly, if money worked the way most people think it does, they'd probably be right. But here's the thing that changes everything. Money doesn't just sit there doing nothing when you invest it properly. It starts working for you, earning returns, and then those returns start earning returns. This is the power of compound interest, which Albert Einstein supposedly called the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it build serious wealth. Those who don't spend their lives wondering why they can't get ahead. When you hit $100,000, you've just completed the hardest part of the entire journey. You've built the foundation. In traditional thinking, you'd assume you're 1/10 of the way to $1 million, but because of how the math snowballs, you're actually exactly 1/3 of the way there. Now, why does $100,000 feel rich? There's a real psychological phenomenon that happens when you cross into six-figure territory. Neuroscientists have found that financial security actually reduces cortisol levels, your body's primary stress hormone. Reaching a milestone like this changes your relationship with risk. When you have zero savings, every decision feels dangerous. But with $100,000, a check engine light isn't a financial catastrophe. It's a mild annoyance. You gain what I call walking away money. You gain the confidence to negotiate for a better salary or walk away from a toxic work environment because you aren't desperate for the next paycheck. But here's where the math starts to get brutal. Let's look at what $100,000 actually provides if you were to try and live off it today. Financial experts often point to the 4% rule as a guide for sustainable withdrawals. If you have $100,000 invested and you take out 4% a year to live on, you're looking at just $4,000. That's about $333 a month. Think about that for a second. Could you live on $300 a month? It wouldn't even cover your groceries, let alone utilities, healthcare, or rent. In fact, the average American household now spends over $5,500 every single month. To fund that lifestyle entirely through investments, you don't need $100,000. You need closer to $1.6 million. This is the until you do the math moment. While $100,000 is a massive massive accomplishment. It only generates enough passive income to pay for your Netflix subscription and maybe a few bags of groceries. It doesn't buy you a beach house, and it definitely doesn't mean you can stop working. If you stop pushing the boulder now, inflation will slowly eat away at the purchasing power of that money until it's worth a fraction of what it is today. The real danger of hitting $100,000 is what I call the illusion of arrival. You start seeing your portfolio jump by $1,000 or $2,000 in a single day when the market is good, and your brain starts playing tricks on you. You begin thinking you've made it. You feel wealthy, and that intoxicating feeling is where most people's wealth-building journey comes to a screeching halt. This is the point where people justify the pavement princess trap. They think, I have $100,000 in the bank. I can finally afford that $70,000 Ford F-150. They walk onto the lot, and the dealer shows them a monthly payment of $1,200. It sounds manageable because they have a six-figure cushion, but they aren't doing the math on the total cost of ownership. When you add in the extra fuel, the massive all-terrain tires, the higher insurance premiums, and the registration fees, that truck is costing them over $1,700 every single month. Over a 7-year loan, that single decision to look rich instead of being wealthy will cost them over $140,000 in total payments and lost investment returns. They aren't driving a truck. They're driving a financial anxiety machine that is actively evaporating their hard-earned $100,000 foundation. The same thing happens with housing. Many people hit $100,000 and immediately think it's time to buy a $500,000 starter home. They put down $50,000 thinking they've made a great investment, but then the math hits. Between the mortgage, property taxes, homeowners insurance, and the 1% annual maintenance rule, their monthly housing cost is now $4,300. If they're taking home $9,000 a month, nearly 50% of their income is now going just to keep a roof over their head. They own a house, technically, but they are house poor. They're one HVAC failure or one transmission repair away from a credit card spiral. The wealthy understand something that the middle class often misses. $100,000 isn't money to be spent. It's a seed that needs to be planted. Charlie Munger famously said the first $100,000 is a bitch, but you have to do it. Why? Because once you hit that mark, the math shifts in your favor in a big way. It took you 12 years of grinding to get to that first $100,000. But to go from $100,000 to $200,000, it only takes about 6 more years. You double your money in half the time because compound interest is finally starting to flex its muscles. By the time you've been investing for 18 years, you're at $200,000, and over half of that balance is pure investment growth, money you never had to work for. If you take that $100,000 and let it sit in a diversified index fund earning a historical average of 10%, it will grow to $1 million in about 24 years without you ever adding another cent. That is the power of a 6-figure foundation. But if you spend it on a truck or a house you can't actually afford, you reset the clock to zero. You go back to doing the heavy lifting yourself while compound interest sits back on the bench. So what should you do once you hit $100,000? First, you need to unlearn the need to be clever. You don't need to start picking individual stocks, chasing cryptocurrency, or investing in your buddy's restaurant venture. At this level, you have just enough money to make really expensive mistakes, but not enough to recover from them quickly. One bad move can delete 5 years of progress. The smartest thing you can do is stay boring. Keep doing exactly what got you to $100,000. Keep your expenses low, avoid consumer debt, and let your money compound in low-cost index funds. You should also consider the concept of stealth wealth. When you get rich, tell no one. The moment people know you have $100,000 in the bank, your relationships start to change. Every interaction can become tainted with the possibility of an ulterior motive. When you live modestly, drive a reasonable car, and dress normally, you form genuine relationships with people who like you for who you are, not for what you can provide. Plus, house. You avoid the appearance prison, the pressure to spend money just to maintain an image of success for people whose opinions don't actually matter. True wealth isn't about the number on your screen. It's about the freedom that number provides. Reaching $100,000 is proof that you have the discipline, the patience, and the mindset to build something remarkable. It's proof that you can delay gratification and prioritize your future self over temporary impulses. But don't let the feeling of being rich stop you before you're actually wealthy. $100,000 is the most dangerous milestone because it feels like a destination, but mathematically, it's just the beginning of the steepest part of the curve. If you can resist the urge to upgrade your lifestyle, if you can stay boring and disciplined, that $100,000 will eventually turn into $1 million, then $2 million, and eventually a level of freedom where money becomes almost abstract. But that only happens if you give it the chance. Start treating your money like the wealth-building tool it is. Automate your investments. Stay the course during market downturns. And remember that every dollar you save today is several dollars you're giving to your future self. Reaching $100,000 isn't just a milestone. It's proof that you're already 1/3 of the way to becoming a millionaire. Don't blow it now. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to check out my other videos on wealth building milestones and the smartest ways to invest your first $10,000. Your future millionaire self will thank you for the decisions you make today. Until next time, keep building that wealth, one smart decision at a time.